Small caps and chip makers powered the market higher today, while the average big cap stock barely moved. Welcome to Finance in Review and the U.S. market recap for Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. Nothing here is investment advice, just a clear look back at the trading day. And later, why a little-known semiconductor testing company jumped nearly 28%. The S&P 500 climbed to 7,509, a gain of 0.89%. That headline hides a split. The equal weight version of the index, where the average stock counts as much as the giants, rose just 0.16%. A narrow group of technology and chip names did most of the lifting, adding roughly $500 billion in market value while the typical stock sat out. Dow Jones Industrial Average added 0.74% to close at 52,225. It was the softer performer among the major benchmarks today. Its heavier tilt toward industrial and consumer names left it behind the more tech-heavy indexes. Even so, the blue-chip gauge notched a solid gain. The Nasdaq led the majors, rising 1.29% to 25,837. Semiconductors did the heavy lifting, a broad rally across chip stocks, including some of the most heavily traded names on the market, pushed the index to the front of the pack. The Russell 2000 had the best day of any major index, climbing 1.53% to 2,987. Small caps outpaced their larger peers, a notable move for a corner of the market that often lags. When smaller companies lead, it is often read as a sign of wider participation beyond the biggest stocks. The VIX, Wall Street's gauge of expected volatility, fell sharply, dropping 8.58% to 17.05. That is its second straight decline. A reading near 17 sits on the calmer side of the range, suggesting investors were pricing in relatively little turbulence as stocks advanced. Technology towered over every other sector today, surging 2.89% on the back of that broad rally in semiconductor shares. Energy came next with a gain of 0.97% as crude oil rose, and healthcare added 0.63%. The rest of the market was far more muted. Consumer staples was the weakest group, slipping 0.94%, followed by communication services, down 0.69%. Utilities and real estate finished essentially flat. The pattern tells the day's story. Money flowed toward growth and cyclical corners of the market and away from the defensive, dividend-heavy sectors investors lean on when they turn cautious. It was a risk-on session, with the gains narrow rather than broad. Away from the index headlines, the day's real drama was in individual names. Aehr Test Systems, a maker of semiconductor testing equipment, was the standout, jumping nearly 28%. The move extended a run that began after the company reported record bookings and guided to triple-digit revenue growth for its next fiscal year. Nebius Group, an internet and AI cloud company, climbed almost 19% after Nvidia disclosed in a regulatory filing that it had raised its stake in the company to more than 9%. Two more names, Cerebras Systems and the sensor maker Aehr, rose about 18 and 17%. Moving with the broad rally in chip stocks, though neither company put out major news of its own. The losers were led by earnings reactions. Danaher, a life sciences and diagnostics company, tumbled almost 11% after it trimmed its full-year revenue outlook, overshadowing an earnings beat. MSCI, which runs financial indexes and data, fell just over 10% following its quarterly report. And Tenable, a cybersecurity software firm, dropped nearly 10% on no major company news. Time for today's Market Minute. You will often hear traders describe a day as risk on or risk off. Risk off is when money rotates out of stocks and toward assets seen as steadier, things like government bonds, gold, and defensive sectors such as utilities and consumer staples. Risk on is the reverse, with money moving into stocks and economically sensitive, cyclical shares. It is important to understand that these terms describe how money is positioned, not a prediction about where markets are headed. Today leaned firmly risk on. Volatility fell, small caps and chip makers led, and the defensive sectors lagged. Exactly the footprint you would expect when investors are reaching for growth rather than shelter. It was a risk-on day with narrow leadership. The S&P 500 rose 0.89% and the Nasdaq climbed 1.29%, while small caps led, with the Russell up over 1.5%. A powerful rally in semiconductors carried technology even as market breadth lagged behind. That's the market close for today. Thanks for watching, and remember, this is information, not investment advice.